Welcome, everyone, to our noon hour webinar. Today, we're going to be talking about increasing leadership readiness at the speed of change and how to meet those challenges in the new workplace. My name is Ali Acker, and I'm the coordinator of community engagement here at CPHR Alberta, and it's great to have you here. Welcome today. I do want to take time to acknowledge that we are living and working on the traditional territories in Alberta of many of the First Nations, Métis, and Inuit, whose footsteps have marked these lands for centuries, including the people of Treaties 6, 7, and 8. If you're joining us from outside of Alberta, I do invite you to honor the land where you are today. So today's webinar will focus on the pressure of today's HR leaders as companies envision the future and teams being able to navigate the new hybrid workplace. We are joined today by the award-winning HR professional, Tracy McDonald. She's recognized for her ability to lead and inspire resilient teams. And with Ed Temple, the certified executive coach, Tracy will share how she helps develop leadership readiness in people and teams, and how she elevates her own leadership potential, and how she's using coaching to meet these challenges in today's workplace. We will be sending out a follow-up email with the recording of this presentation and any resources, and that will be in your inboxes next week. So with that, I'll turn the floor over to Ed.
Thank you, Ali. Appreciate the introduction. And we're going to say a little bit more about myself and Tracy, but welcome. We're really grateful to be able to share your lunch hour with you for those of you who are calling in from Alberta. Very curious as to where people are calling in from. So if you don't mind, we're going to ask you to use the chat a couple times today. If you don't mind just typing in, where are you located, so we can see coming up of all the people that are here today, your location, and just get a little bit of a sense of where are the people coming from. So that's great. Wow, look at those coming in. Great to see lots of people snowed in here in Calgary, unfortunately. Tracy, you don't know what that is out in Vancouver, but we're glad to have you here. We're getting lots of people there in the chat. Thank you for that. You know, one of the things I just say is I'm a really proud member of Essential Impact and associate partner there. And the thing that we're really focused on is just about the change that coaching skills does for leaders. And today we have the great opportunity to hear from Tracy around how you're learning coaching skills and applying that in an organization, a great organization doing some really neat things, how that's changed your approach to leadership and addressing the needs of today. So I look forward to that conversation. I'm located here in Calgary. I was the past president of the local Calgary chapter, so I'm really proud to represent coaches throughout our city and the professional community of coaches, just like CPHR represents HR professionals throughout Alberta and in the Yukon. We're glad to be here today, and a little bit more about Essential Impact. We focus a lot on coaching cultures, helping people create a culture where coaching is a normal way of leading, of having conversations, of being effective and getting results through coaching skills. We've done that with a number of great organizations, won a number of awards. The award from the International Coaching Federation is called PRISM. And so we've had 6 of those. And through COVID, we actually won one through TD Bank. And hopefully we'll be able to share a little bit more of that story sometime in the future. But today we're focusing on Thinkific and Tracy and what you're doing. And so as we get ready for that, I just want to introduce you to a couple people who are going to be engaging with you and supporting me. And so we have some of our great team members. We have Amy and Amber, and they're just going to put their faces up there. And so just so that you know, Amy's going to be engaged in the chat. So if you have a question that comes up, if you want to know something more about that, Amy will be responding in real time, and she has some things that she can share with you. So feel free to engage in the chat. I obviously can't do all those things, but thank you, Amy, for being with us. And Amber, likewise. Amber's going to be fielding the questions that come in to bring in for Tracy to answer later. So we're going to have some time for Q&A. So as you're hearing things, there's parts of the story that we're not sharing, something that you're curious about. We would love to hear that. So Amber is going to help us field that and bring that in a little bit later. So thanks so much for being here, for supporting. We appreciate that. And we look forward to having you help us have a great experience over this lunch hour. Another thing that we just maybe in the chat, we want to just turn the attention to you who've taken time out of your busy days to make this a priority. We would like to just hear from you. You know, what was the catalyst that brought you here? Like when you got the email from CPHR or saw something in LinkedIn, what was the question you were coming with? Or the reason why that you showed up today that this is important to you? It'd be really helpful for us to see that in the chat, just for myself, for Tracy and Amy and Amber, along with other team members. But yeah, that'd be great. If you could just tell us what brought you here today. So go ahead and take a minute to type something in there, maybe in a sentence or in a few words. And likewise, if maybe that's not the question you're relating to, another question you could answer for us is, what are you hoping to learn? So what expectation have you come in with today? Because we know that diverse backgrounds, people coming in from all sorts of different places, that would be great for us to see just around what brought you here and what are your expectations today. So go ahead and type those in. And as you're typing them in, I just want to turn our attention to Tracy, and I want to introduce you to her a little bit more fully. So Tracy, I know you're ready to say some things, but let me just share a little bit more with our group here today, this cohort, around who you are and some other meaningful things, and then I'll turn it over to you. But so Tracy comes to us with over 15 years working with people to grow their potential. Tracy leads with compassion, integrity, and trust to build happy, high-performing teams in positive cultures that impact business growth. Love the way you said that. Tracy has brought her strong HR leadership, strategic vision, and experience as a certified leadership coach to the technology industry in both small-scale startups and rapidly scaling organizations. Tracy's led and supported teams and companies to be recognized with numerous awards, including Canada's Top 100 Employers, the Canadian HR Awards, and BC Tech's Technology Impact Awards. Tracy currently is Director of Talent Development at Thinkific. And if you don't know what Thinkific is yet, you will know by the end of the time. And it's a worthwhile organization to understand what's happening in the learning and development space, because Thinkific's doing some really incredible things. They have a platform, a software as service platform that allows course creators to build, market, sell, and deliver online courses. They have a team of over 500 thinkers and growing. Tracy's been an integral part of supporting and developing the team, as it's been recognized as one of Canada's fastest growing tech companies. And we're going to hear about the ebbs and flows of that and what that looks like for her. Tracy is a champion for creating dynamic teams that inspire and enable people to reach their full potential, and she shares this drive to create inclusive and authentic workplaces as a speaker and as a panelist at HR industry conferences and events. So Tracy, welcome. Thank you for being here with us. And with that, what would you add about what you think is important for people to know about you today?
Oh, one, thanks, Ed. Thank you so much for having me. When that bio is read, it always takes me back a little bit to like, really, is that describing me? I would just add that I love the work that I get to do. I love that I get to work with our team on a day-to-day basis. I think no 2 days are alike, and that's sort of what keeps me going and gets me out of bed in the morning. I find people just so fascinating, and when we can bring them together to create just something really special in terms of a high-performing team that was really collaborative and innovative, it just it fuels me and drives me for even more. Sort of more on the personal side, I have 2 kids. They're sort of the light of my life. And I'm never happier than when we just went away. This is like fresh in my mind. Last weekend, we went up to Whistler for a little ski weekend, and there's like nothing better than just being on the mountain with my kids and my husband. And it's just heaven on earth. Nice.
Oh, that's awesome. How old are your kids?
They are, oh my goodness, just had birthdays. So 6 and 9.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Crazy times. I say that because I have 3 kids, as you can see here, but that's a little bit misleading because my 3 kids are teens now. So I'm in a teens era of my life. So I'm a little envious of the season you're in, but they're all good seasons. They're just different.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing us a little bit about yourself. Tell us a little bit more about, your role at Thinkific and what you're doing currently.
Yeah, I had a really interesting opportunity. I actually joined Thinkific in the middle of the pandemic. So I joined in September 2020. Onboarded fully remotely, which was definitely an interesting experience. And we were about 180 thinkers at the time. And what I've been able to kind of go through is incredible growth with them. So as you mentioned, growing the team, sort of doubling in size. And I was brought in to lead the talent development function. And what that included was sort of a department on our people team, where I have had the opportunity to build our talent development partnerships group, which is similar to like an HR business partner model for those who might be more familiar with that terminology. and a learning and development function. So I oversee two groups, our talent development partnerships and learning and development, which really puts me at a position where I get to really see and be on the ground and hear what our team is doing, how they're thriving, how we can help solve problems, and then also have that learning and development lens where we get to sort of get in a little bit more proactively and see how we can support our team to grow and develop. We're really there just to like maximize our team's potential and make sure that they're high performing, happy, collaborative, innovative, and that they have all the tools and resources they need to succeed. And that's sort of the part that really energizes me.
Yeah, right on. I look forward to hearing more about that and how you use your coaching skills to do that. But maybe just let's step back, help us understand a little bit more about what Thinkific is and kind of, in technology, right? The technology is about changing the landscape of how things are. So there might be some people here who've never heard of Thinkific or just looking it up now. Help us understand in maybe your elevator pitch or whatever about what the company is all about.
Yeah, for sure. This is the part I love. I feel like I kind of got to come home a little bit when I joined Thinkific. I have a bit of an education background. And so coming to Thinkific with what our product does was felt really fortuitous for me. So as you mentioned, we are a software as a service platform, and we're really focused on bringing course creators together so that they can build, market, sell, and deliver their online courses, as well as other learning products, really, but under their own brand. And so I think at the heart of it, we believe in the incredible power of education. And we've seen firsthand that when you unite business and education, you create this unstoppable force for positive change. And that mission is just really trying to make it really simple for entrepreneurs and even established businesses to scale and generate revenue by teaching what they know. So we're really looking for how can we elevate people who have this sort of knowledge that they want to share with others. And our users are vast and wide and include everyone from solopreneurs to entrepreneurs to small, medium businesses, and even large established businesses. And our course creators span all different verticals and industries. And I love hearing all of their stories because it goes from course creators focused on farming education to hula hooping, manufacturing, and even corporate finance. So it's like across the board, everything you can possibly imagine that could be taught and sort of be created into a course can be found sometimes through our Thinkific platform. The other thing that I like to mention, especially for this group, though, is it's not just our product's not just used for courses as a product. We also have customers, actually a large growing customer base, who use Thinkific for actually customer training, employee onboarding, and we actually use it internally to deliver our learning and development content as well to our team.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that with us, Tracy. And I was mindful of it's a disruptive technology. And when you talked about for those people who want to have a platform to share with the world what they have to offer, but then also the internal implications of organizations and how they manage their onboarding and training and learning and development, it really makes you go, wow, there's so much potential around what you guys are doing. So exciting stuff. Thanks for sharing a little bit about it. And we put the link there. So if you want to check out more about Thinkific, I would definitely recommend signing up and learning more about this technology. I think it's just important, whether you're going to use it or not, it's important to learning and development in the future of how that happens within organizations, but also disruptive to how it traditionally has been done as well. So you're the director of talent development. And I'm really curious just around how you found when you started to take a coach approach around the shift that happened and kind of what you've been doing to help us understand the impact that you found with using coaching.
Sure. I had heard about coaching actually from one of my mentors. She was a certified coach, and I just remember working with her and being really inspired about how she approached conversations. And I thought, maybe I should check this whole coaching thing out. And so I signed up for the first course with Essential Impact back in February 2020. And it was an in-person course. I think it was probably one of the last ones that you offered in person. And I just sort of became hooked. And to be honest, I think I entered a little bit skeptical because I had been hearing about coaching and I was like, I'm not sure, but I feel like I should check this out. And I went in and we started practicing and having some of those coaching conversations. And the light bulb for me was when I was in those coaching conversations being coached by someone in the course. And I would have a little breakthrough, a light bulb moment. And I was like, how did that just happen? Like what just happened there? And it would be like in a 5-minute conversation. And so it was definitely the point where I was like, I need to learn more. And so as I started to learn more about it and take more courses, I started to see how I was able to directly use it in my day-to-day work, whether that was as like a coaching moment, just where I just had one of those questions that I'd learned in my coaching course, or just how I approached the conversation a little bit differently, or whether it was a little bit more of like a coaching conversation, a little bit longer, or we did start to do actual coaching sessions at work. But I was able to see it start to like trickle in to my day-to-day almost without me knowing. Like it was just almost like a mindset shift.
Oh, interesting.
And then the other thing that I noticed too was an easing of this stress. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that. But in my role in HR over the last like several years, I've often found that our team members, from senior leaders to individual contributors, they often would seek me out for advice, or they'd have questions, or they'd have a problem or a challenge, and they'd be coming to me for what I felt was an answer. And so I felt this like incredible pressure to always have the answers or be able to like help people. And the reality is, like in tech, and especially in a growing tech company, we don't always have the answers. And I think probably the pandemic has been like the epitome of the unknown. We don't have the answers. People are asking these questions and I'm like, I don't know. And what I found was, when I took the coaching courses and it became less about me and more about who I was having a conversation with and helping them to either unlock or get unstuck or solve their own problems, all of a sudden this like weight was lifted off of my shoulders, where I don't have to have all the answers. I don't need to be that person that people go to because I'm going to have the advice for them, or I'm going to have the perfect solution. I can actually just sit and help them come to their own conclusions and figure it out on their own. And that was like a real shift for me. And then I also noticed it in the people that were coming to me. They were just as satisfied, probably even more so, because they saw that light bulb moment themselves. They weren't like sort of listening to what I said and going, yeah, that either sticks or it doesn't. And I remember one of my facilitators in Essential Impact, Rob Gray too. He said that, because I also got a little stuck in coaching on like sometimes having the perfect question. Mm-hmm. And it really shifted for me when he shared that the perfect question is the one you don't know the answer to. Mm. And so again, it was like that reinforcement that when I'm sitting with these people, helping them navigate things that they're going through in their role at Thinkific, I don't need to, again, have the answer. I don't need to have the perfect question. I just need to ask a question that myself and even them don't know the answer to, but through the conversation, we'll figure it out. Mm. And so that was really, really empowering for me in my role. And I've noticed it show up as well within my team. And so I get to work with a fantastic talent development team. Mm-hmm. And I find that as I'm able to work with them and coach them, it's shifted we have regular one-on-ones, weekly one-on-ones, and it's shifted how they show up to the one-on-ones now too, because it's almost like building a muscle. And so as I started to use these coaching conversations and it came, okay, Tracy's not going to just give me the answer. Like she's going to kind of work with me to problem solve. Now I see them almost jumping ahead of me in the coaching. They're like, okay, this is what I'm dealing with. Yeah. And then here's some options that I've come up
Yeah.
with, like, because I know you're going to ask me what are the
Yeah.
options and what have you thought about? So they're almost getting ahead of me and coming with potential solutions. And it's just really great to see that shift in their growth and development.
Wow. You said so many great things in there. Just one thing I want to come back to is I appreciated how you shared how it went from me as the leader to who is this person and how do I develop them and develop that capacity and resilience within them. Really meaningful shift I heard. And then the last one there, when you're sharing about it, you develop a muscle yourself, but that muscle impacts the others. Like they start to get, oh, wait, Tracy's different. She engages with me in a different way, that you then see them developing through that because they show up differently as well because you've kind of set a new norm. So that's great to hear. Maybe help us understand. I know like in tech startups, any organization, I mean, we've all experienced so much disruption in the last 2 years and beyond that, last 7 years here in Alberta. Ebbs and flows, like things go up, they go down, and just how you've been able to manage the ebbs and flows because of your commitment to taking a coach approach. What can you share with us about that?
Yeah, there's so many. I mean, for those who aren't familiar, but tech companies have lots of ebbs and flows, highs and lows, scaling fast and having to pivot potentially. My time at Thinkific has definitely felt like a bit of a roller coaster, a good roller coaster, but definitely a roller coaster. When I joined, as I mentioned, we were 180 people in 2021. We scaled to 500. So massive growth. Yeah. We also went went public in 2021. So went through an IPO, which was a huge success and accomplishment for our company, hiring and scaling the team. And then there's the pandemic, right? Then there was are we in office? Are we out of office? Are we hybrid? Are we back to like, what are we doing? Like highs and lows there. Oh, it sounds like the world's opening back up. Oh, no, there's a new variant. And so the pivots and shifts were just like crazy and unending. This year, again, it's been like, okay, I think we're shifting to hybrid. Oh no, we're not opening the office. Oh, maybe we are. No, we're not. Maybe we are. No, and I'm sure many people can relate. We've also had some pivots in our direction of our business. Most recently, 2 weeks ago, our executive leadership team did a whole sort of audit and evaluation of our company, and made the decision that we actually needed to do a 20% headcount reduction. So last week we went through saying goodbye to 100 of our amazing thinkers. And so just navigating all of that change has been challenging. I know many people feel that to navigate the change that we've gone through in the last year and a half without a pandemic would have been a lot, but then to navigate it within a pandemic, working remote and moving to hybrid, we're just really trying to navigate what that looks like. I think where I've been able to lean on kind of the coach approach has been through those conversations. I think change can be really challenging for people. I think humans as just by nature, we resist change a little bit, and our team has definitely experienced high change fatigue because it just seems like every week there's something new that we're dealing with, and that could be internally or externally. And so, with the coaching, what it shifts in that conversation for me is it empowers my team to feel like they're back in control, because it really puts that emphasis back on them and what they can do and what actions they can take and who they can seek out for support. I can share a little story from literally yesterday. I had a coaching call with one of our team members, and since we've been through the workforce reduction of actually 2 weeks ago, she had lost a team member. The team she's on was restructured. She has a new people leader that she reports into. Her role has morphed slightly, and she came into the conversation kind of feeling overwhelmed and somewhat unsure of her place, to the point of the starting place of the conversation was, am I in the right role, or should I be looking like for a different role and maybe not even at this company? And what we were able to do through the coaching conversation was really explore those feelings that were coming up for her and look into what the connection was between her old role and the things she loved and the new role, and what similarities, because what she was kind of coming in focusing was all the differences. And she wasn't able to see the commonalities or the things that might be similar that she still loved that would still exist in this new role. And it wasn't a long conversation, but it was pretty amazing to see how at the end, how it had shifted. And she went from these feelings of anxiousness and overwhelm at the beginning of the conversation to excitement and action, and being really inspired to go speak with her people leader. And that she had all of a sudden a whole bunch of new ideas about this project that she was dreading at the start of the call, to now she was like, I can't wait to get started on this project. I'm going to talk to my people leader about X, Y, Z. And I think back to before I had the coaching skills, what that conversation would have been like. And I think we would have dug into the feelings, but I wouldn't have had the skill or the knowledge of how to pivot it and how to move this team member through kind of those stages of emotions and things she was feeling to some actual like tangible things that she could put back into her place of power and feel in control. Yeah. And so, just with that's what I've like noticed, I think most is change is hard. And especially when people feel it's like out of their control, and coaching has that opportunity to like recenter it and give them perspective of what's still in their control.
Yeah. And that's such an important thing that you bring up, is that coaching, there's a real focus and intentionality to it. Like, yes, there's the listening, the connecting, and creating safe space. Like, those are all really important, but that's not where you end it. Like, there is a lot more to it. And that story was really helpful to me around, you can tell like when somebody is feeling such uncertainty or a lack of clarity, how it just pulls your energy down throughout everything you try to do. And this kind of short little moment you had was you were able to skillfully move them through that, address those feelings, connect with those feelings, understand why that was happening for them, and pivot to this, what was actually really important to them. And I love that story of leaving with energy, that you can imagine the whole next week, every meeting, everything came out of that completely different because of a small shift that happened within somebody. And that's a great example of how coaching changes things for people. So thanks for that. Okay, so here's one of my thinking is around, and I think a lot of people feel this now, is that coaching really impacts around leadership readiness and speed of decision making. Like, those are things that we just all are aware of as things are changing so quickly. Like, we don't have time to catch up. We have hardly time to catch our breath with what you just shared, all those things. And I'm wondering, what are you seeing around, as you take a coach approach to those things, of how that helps prepare people? Maybe an example that you might have around leadership readiness or speed of decision.
Oh, good question. I think in terms of kind of leadership readiness, speed of action, decision making, when I think of coaching, it kind of goes towards like a bias towards action. I think that what people kind of struggle with sometimes is just that there's sometimes indecisiveness, or we're overthinking things, or we haven't had a chance to kind of like step back and really think about all of the options. Like, sometimes we get a narrower focus, and sometimes it takes someone maybe sitting in that coach seat to say, like, what have you not considered? What else is out there? And that sort of sparks bigger thinking. In terms of our organization, we've really leaned into coaching as sort of a foundational element for our leadership training. And so we have it embedded in many of our different training programs, and have really tried to upskill all of our people leaders on this tool, because we see the power that it has to be applied in multiple different situations, and to be applied even just in, if I could just have one people leader ask a more powerful question to their team member in a one-on-one, like that's a huge win. If I can just elevate it by one question. And so we have a couple of different things happening at Thinkific. We have one is our foundational leadership program called Activate. And we spend one full module on coaching and really take our people leaders through that. And then we have follow-up sort of triads that they'll practice their coaching. And it started to inspire our people leaders, because the other thing we're doing is all of our talent development professionals have been doing coach training, and we've actually seen some of our other thinkers start to sign up. So we have a few more people in the organization taking coaching, but right. It's just starting to kind of like trickle. I would say organically, but it's not. It is planned. There is thought behind it, but it is a bit of an organic spread with intention, because it's definitely been one of my dreams to get our organization just always thinking from a coach approach. And there's nothing that makes me happier than when I'm in a meeting and I hear someone ask a question and I'm like, ooh, they're approaching this from a coach approach.
Nice. Well, so I want to ask you more about that in a second here, Tracy, but I just want to acknowledge and invite, if you have questions that are coming up, if you haven't done so already, please put them into the chat or use the Q&A. Amber's here kind of fielding those. So we're going to shift to that in a couple minutes. I have something else I want to ask you about, Tracy. But so please start doing that now. We'll try to get to as many questions as we can. And I want to hear more about this organic thing that's happening at Thinkific, because, and just so people know here, we've done these webinars 3 other times, and our focus is all about culture, coaching culture. So we interviewed leaders from Canadian Western Bank, the CHRO, Jim Reed from Rogers, and then the CHRO from Joey's Restaurant, about how coaching culture came about. And so if you want to learn more about those are still available. I think we have a link here that we can share with you. So some good things. Thinkific, there's this organic thing that's happening that we really wanted to kind of like tell us more, and maybe a story around something that's kind of helped that trickling, that this isn't top down saying we're going to do this as an organization. This is kind of grassroots. Help us understand more of what that's doing, because I'm guessing there's people listening here who says, oh, we don't buy into this kind of approach. Our leadership hasn't sponsored it. We don't have any money, like all of those barriers. Help us understand, to kind of inspire those people around how one person can make a change.
Yeah, I think I was definitely fortunate in that our people team was bought in early on. We said, like, how can we get coaching across our organization? How can we inspire a coaching culture? When I joined, coaching was already part of our leadership development program. So that was already sort of embedded into that program. What we then started to offer was actually a coaching program within our organization that any team member could sign up for, and they could sign up for either 3 or 6 months of coaching with one of our certified coaches. And we did invest in certain team members who showed an interest in becoming a certified coach. And we ended up having an incredible interest when we launched our formal coaching program within Thinkific. I think we already had elements of it within our organization. Our whole executive leadership team do all have their own personal coach or business coach. And so that sort of coming from that level of seeing value in coaching, but when I joined, it really hadn't extended past the executive leadership team. They had coaches, but it hadn't started to trickle down within the organization. Where we started to see, I think, that organic approach was opening that coaching program up to everyone across the organization, and people starting to speak and share with their peers about what it was like to go and get coached. And also, we also shared from our leadership program with our people leaders that we were training on coaching. We said, be honest, be open with your team members. When you go into a one-on-one, share with them that you have just learned this coaching toolkit. You're learning it, you're practicing, and you are hoping to bring some of those elements into your one-on-ones. And share with them that you'd love to hear feedback from them about how it's going, what's working, what's not. And so we wanted it to be like really open and transparent. And I think from my perspective, what that helped to sort of increase that organic spread was all of a sudden, if you think about our people leaders, each of them having, 5 to 7 direct reports, it kind of spreads out exponentially when they're open and honest that, hey, I just learned this coaching thing in Activate, and I'm really excited to try it with you and work with you. And I think it will be powerful for our relationship as well as your growth and development. And so then our individual contributors got to see like, oh, like I do see a bit of a shift in how my people leader is approaching these conversations, similar to what I described earlier when I came in and started to shift how I ran my one-on-ones from more of a coaching perspective. Our team members started to see that. And then they were like, hey, maybe I could get involved in this coaching thing. And they would sign up for our program. We've had a wait list ever since we launched our coaching program. We don't have enough coaching hours to support it. But it's allowed that concept of coaching to just get out within the organization because we speak about it, we talk about it, our people leaders share their learning and their growth. Because at the end of the day, we're a learning organization. Like our product is all about learning. So we do it. So we want to reinforce that. Like we want to be a company that is known for the growth and development of our people. And we see coaching as being the thing that is just applicable across all roles, all levels, and essentially almost all moments, right? Because it doesn't have to be a 30-minute coaching session that you pre-plan. It can just be someone comes to you and you're like, oh, I'm going to take a coach approach in this moment because I think it might be more valuable and see where it goes. So that's kind of the intentional organic spread.
And that's great. And Tracy, one of the things I loved about your story there was about find a way to tell the story. And I was reminded of the Canadian Western Bank interview that they said similar type things is find a way to tell the story. And then also you mentioned it is about kind of creates this internal demand. Like we want more. And now you don't have enough. So there's a push up for it, what I'm hearing in your story. So that's great to hear. Chris and Natasha are kind of asking some things from different angles, and I'm going to combine what they're asking is just those, what can you tell us about when there's areas of resistance? You're trying to sell the idea, get people on board, whether it's above you or below you. So what's some maybe common doubts or resistance that you've had and what you've done in response that you've found helpful, just because we're looking for some tips for ourselves as well?
Yeah, for sure. I think how we approached it, especially in our leadership training, is not that coaching is the be all end all for all situations. So we have definitely shared that there is still a place for mentorship. There's still a place for managing your direct reports where you do need a more hands-on, direct approach, tactical approach. And so what we've tried to do is sort of elaborate on like when a coaching conversation or when a coaching moment might be helpful. But we haven't diminished the other sides of leadership. And so we haven't said that you're never going to manage your team and you're never going to give them directives and like be really specific on what they need to do, and that you're never going to share your experience and your knowledge and best practices, because you need all of that for really good leadership. In terms of real pushback, we haven't actually got a ton of pushback for coaching because of the way we've approached it, because it hasn't been a mandatory thing. Like everybody needs to do this. But when we do, I think at Thinkific, we've definitely done less of nothing is sort of mandated. Like we have smart individuals and we hire really great people. We have a super rigorous hiring process. And so we believe that our people will know what works for them in the moment. So if there's a leader that's really strong and has a great team and high performing and really functional, and team loves them, and they don't want to implement coaching at this time, like that's okay. That's okay for us. And so that's kind of helped, I think, with the buy-in. And then as it started to spread, what we've found is those individuals who maybe were a little bit more hesitant at the beginning, they've sort of started to put their hands up and say like, hey, now I'm interested, right? Now I'm interested in learning a bit more. And then we have lots of other opportunities as well for leadership development in terms of our growth of both our people leaders and our team members. So there's opportunities for them to dive in where it makes sense for them. We are also, we generously offer a learning stipend for all of our people leaders. Some choose to use it for coaching courses or hiring their own coach if they don't want one of our internal coaches, or they use it for other growth that might be important for them at this stage in their career, because everyone's kind of on a different journey. And that's what we're trying to support at Thinkific is like, how do we support people where they are in the moment? And coaching might not be the most valuable thing for them right now. It might be in 2 years, but we want them to be aware of it and know about it and see it in action so that when they're ready, they can jump.
Yeah. What I'm hearing, what you're saying is find the low-lying fruit and use it there. Let people kind of buy in. You don't have to, where there's resistance, that's okay. It's not for today. The other thing I really appreciate about your story was that experience. And we find this in our coach training is people often come in and they think there's this much opportunity for coaching. It's small. And then as they learn these skills, suddenly they go, oh, it's actually, there's many more opportunities than I realized. It's not everything. And I like that you guys are equipping people to know, where do you use this non-directive coaching? Because it really creates a shift and change for people. And you said it earlier in our conversation was around, you notice it, right? So when somebody's having a meeting and they ask a question, you go, I noticed that coach approach. And that's what we recognize is really valuable, is that when you start noticing it in each other and you see the value of it, it really kind of creates a buy-in, because you know that's a better way. Like asking that question was a better way than giving your opinion or doing something different at that moment, because it helped move the conversation forward. It opened up to possibilities and innovation and creativity and things that can happen with leaders connecting and coming up with great things. So thanks for sharing that. I have another great question here from Jennifer, maybe just shifting gears a little bit. On this journey that you've been on, what has surprised you? Like, what's a surprising moment, a surprising benefit of coaching that maybe you didn't think about earlier, but you're all of a sudden realized, oh, this is a bonus?
Oh, that's a good question. What surprised me? I can use it at home with my husband.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I think it's just surprised me that, you know what, actually, to be honest, I'm surprised how quickly it has spread in the organization. We have team members on our engineering team who signed up for coaching. And I just remember being like shocked in terms of, I was like, how did they hear about it? Like, how did they hear about this, and what made them join? And they never reached out to me to ask about it. And then as I dug in, I was like, oh, they talked to one of our talent development partners who then like shared about what we were building over here. And they want to be a part of it. Like they just thought it was the best thing. And then I also heard from, so we specifically, my talent development team, we've registered them in coaching courses because it's really valuable toolkit for them. And then they would show up to our one-on-ones and tell me that there were 3 other team members from Thinkific in their coaching course. And I was like, there are. And again, it was like, I thought that I was kind of this like coaching beacon at Thinkific. And so in a way, like if anyone, and I've been the champion a little bit, and if anyone was interested, they would like come to me and ask, like, I'm thinking about, what do you think? But people didn't come to me. So I'm like, where are they getting this information from? And that's when I sort of had this aha that, oh, like it started that like conversation and it trickling, and it's starting to be, for lack of a better, like a bit of a movement in Thinkific per se. I'm like, oh, it's happening, because it's not, they're coming to me and I'm having to convince them that yes, they should use, their learning and development stipend to like take this course, and I should encourage them. It just like, they just signed up because they have either taken our Activate program, our leadership program, and got a little taste of it. And we're like me early on, right? Got a taste and we're like, I need more. Or they've talked to other people, or their people leader has coached them. And they're like, now I need to learn how to coach my team members. That was actually probably the most like surprising and like positively surprising moment for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. It kind of made me laugh just around sometimes how you were championing and thinking that you were here, and all of a sudden things are going way beyond what you thought was happening, and it's kind of taken off, and you're like, oh dear. And that's a great thing about harnessing it, right? Like there's a sense of trying to push. There are those times where you push, and then there's those times where it kind of gets over. it gets over the hump for whatever reason, and all of a sudden there's this momentum to it that kind of is throughout with people. And again, I think that's kind of a connection to how it changes people. I think of like restaurants, right? You have restaurants that say, tell people about it, put it on social media, but then there's the experience that you go and you love it, that you can't help but tell people about it. Like you tell, not because the restaurant told you to, just because you love the experience, you love the food. I find that with coaching too. It's one of those things that you don't need to go tell people to tell others. It has this momentum to it, like they're spreading it and talking about it because of how it's changed them, how it's made them better leaders, deliver better results, and all the other additional benefits of coaching.
Yeah. And I would say one of the things that's been interesting too is when I've been coaching individuals as part of our formal coaching program, then they go and talk to their people leader about, or their people leader starts to notice changes in them as a result of the coaching. And that's also been a positive domino effect, because then that people leader is like, hey, what's Tracy, or what are these coaches doing with this person? Like maybe I should learn more about this. Because it seems to be affecting really positive change in my team member.
Yeah, no, that's great. Tracy, I have a couple more questions for you, but I just want to turn it to our cohorts experience today. And just in the chat again, it'd be great to hear from you, and for everybody who's here today to hear from each other around how this is landing for you. So if you don't mind, maybe just share, what have you learned? Like, what was important to you about our conversation so far? And again, it'd just be helpful for us to see that, to see how you're engaging, and for other people here. So if you don't mind, take a minute to type that into the chat. One of the things that, as those things are coming up, Amy's here to support you as well. She's put some links. I've seen them come up, but I just haven't been paying attention to what's been coming up. If you're a CPHR member, and if you're interested in coach training, Essential Impact offers that to CPHR members from Alberta with a discount. And so if you're a member, you get a discount from it. You can follow up. I think CPHR will be sending an email out later with the discount code. So you get a special discount because of our partnership. So we're grateful to be partnered with CPHR Alberta, and glad that you could be here. So if you are interested, feel free to follow up with us. I think we'll share our info or our LinkedIn. So you can reach out to me, Amy, Amber, any of us on our team. You might already know somebody from Essential Impact. We have a great team. Rob's a great coach. I know Molly's here today. There's a bunch of others. I'm sure there's a bunch on the line here. If you know somebody from Essential Impact, reach out to them and have a conversation if there's anything else that we can help answer questions and get more information to you. Glad to do that. And we're really grateful for this partnership with CPHR. So please continue with what you've learned today or your takeaway. We'd like to hear that. We'd like other people to be able to see that as well. And as you're doing that, Tracy, I want to come back to you just about this idea of, painting the ideal future. If you had a magic wand, what would you see for yourself and then maybe your team over the next 3 years?
Oh, yeah. It's always tough to look so far in the future. For
maybe
myself,
maybe
I know
that's more relevant.
I know, even right now, right? I think the pandemic's given us all a bit of a skewed sense of time.
Yes. 3 days. How about by Tuesday?
Yeah, I think for me, it's kind of continuing on this journey, this coach journey for myself, continuing to learn and engage and really kind of lean into just developing myself further. I think I've always kind of had this thirst for knowledge and learning, lifelong learner, definitely for myself. And so, yeah, working towards, things like the ACC designation and that sort of more tactical things. But I also I always want to be inspired. And so making sure that I'm always with an organization and a team that inspires me and is on that journey with me. I think I'd love to see coaching continue to grow at Thinkific. I'd love if every single people leader on our team had a certain foundational basis of coaching, even greater than what we have right now. I think for our team, we just broader, we just love kind of innovating and pushing that status quo and what's possible within HR. It's one of the greatest, I think, positives of this work is that we can always look at ways to build and make things better for our team. The hybrid work environment, oh my goodness, we still have so much to figure out there. because we as an organization have pretty much been fully remote during the pandemic and just had our office open recently for a small number. And we're transitioning to like that real hybrid where some in the office and some not. And there's so many questions and things we need to figure out. So I'd love like magic wand in 3 years, we've got it figured out. Like we've got it dialed in. I don't know if that's realistic, but yeah, I think working like a whole team in an office is possible. A whole team working remotely is possible. I think this hybrid is a whole new beast we have to figure out. And so, yeah, looking forward to kind of digesting that. I love a good problem and a good challenge. So I'm looking forward to leaning into that. And hopefully coaching will be a bit of that secret sauce, I think, that we can bring into that hybrid environment. Yeah, that's kind of the big things for 3 years. And I, fingers crossed, hopefully we're out of the pandemic in three years and we can just look back on this and say, what a time that was.
Yeah, we hope. One of the things you said there that just reminded me of somebody else that we're working with is what surprised them about the benefit of coaching was it's helped them navigate COVID and the hybrid and back to work. And so they're using lots of coaches internally to help people navigate coming back and all of the anxiety that brings up for different people and managing those. And so that was one of their surprises of like, oh, I guess coaching is facilitating this, but that's not why we started it, but it's a great benefit. And I appreciate that, what you're sharing around that. And you mentioned the ACC, which is an associate coaching credentialed from the International Coaching Federation, just so in case people weren't clear about that. But one of the things that I also want to make clear is there's lots of ways that you can use coaching that you don't need to be certified with the International Coaching Federation. One of the things before that, Essential Impact offers a certification, which if you go through the programs, you get that. It's called a Certified Leadership Coach, which you are, Tracy. All that training is accredited, so you can get your ICF credential in the future if you want it. But the other thing, and I heard you say this earlier, Tracy, is that you have people within your organization, which you call coaches. They are certified in Thinkific, meaning they have been equipped. They've got some training and they don't necessarily have an outside credential, but there's a sense of they are empowered to coach within the organization. And I'm just wondering, like, is there anything else that you could share with us about that? Just briefly, we have a couple minutes left, just around some of those roles of those champions you have partnering with you for coaching.
Yeah, I mean, it takes time to get certified in coaching. And so in order to get this off the ground, we just needed to train people and get them to a point where we felt they were competent to start having those coaching conversations. And so, yeah, we didn't, when we first launched, we didn't have everyone with a designation. We had people with 1 or 2 courses under their belt, some practice. We did some kind of like internal test coaching to see, how it went. And we launched as a pilot too. We were like, again, really upfront and honest with our team that we were like, hey, we believe in coaching. We think this could be powerful with our team. We're going to launch with a pilot. And those who sign up and join this pilot, we're going to ask a little bit extra from you in terms of feedback, not only to grow our program, but to grow our coaches, because they're coming in as well. This is like, for all of them, the first time they're doing kind of formal coaching in a professional setting. And we really wanted to work with our team. So it was like a real collaborative effort. I find sometimes just like putting that word pilot in when you launch something just helps to like get the understanding and that this is a learning process and we want to learn with our people.
Yeah. And you said something there that just reminded me of one of the things we've found, with other partners is the discretionary effort you get when you equip something, you equip people with a skill and a way of approaching things in a way that they feel great about, which is coaching. So we found in other organizations just like yours is when you equip people with coaching and then you say, hey, would you mind coaching some people who aren't your direct reports, who it's not part of your job, it's just another little extra, people put their hand up. Yeah. They go, yeah, I'll do it. I want to do it because I love coaching. I see what it does for people and it's all discretionary effort, which is, a powerful catalyst for kind of spreading coaching throughout the organization because they put their hands up to be able to offer it because they see it as the gift that it's been for themselves. Like, yeah,
we had to, we all, once we moved out of the pilot, all of a sudden we had people raising their hand going like, how do I become a coach at Thinkific? And we were like scrambling a little bit because we're like, oh, we hadn't really thought of that. We thought we were going to have to like actively go out and tap people on the shoulder. Could you coach? And it happened the other way. So all of a sudden we had to figure out, what is our induction method for a coach at Thinkific? And we had to figure that out quickly so that we could give our team members some information. How does this? How do you become a coach at Thinkific?
Well, I mean, the energy around that, it's a difference between like begging people to do something and help and to like trying to hold them back. Like, wait a second, we're not ready because everybody wants to do this. So, I mean, that's a huge, huge difference on the impact that you're having there. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Well, Tracy, thanks so much for sharing with us today and being here, giving us some of your time. I'm last question before we close, just around like, what are some of the exciting opportunities happening at Thinkific? What you're excited about for the future for you guys?
Yeah, we are still hiring, even though we did have the workforce reduction for a few like really critical specialized roles, because we recognize that there are some gaps within our organization. And so, just spreading the word on that, that's really still exciting that we have some growth happening throughout the year. The other exciting thing I think is just like our mission and our product and what's available. And just would encourage people to kind of keep following along our journey. If you have anything that you would love, like to teach or knowledge you have, check out our platform. It's really, really quick and easy to set up a free subscription and build your first course and check it out and see what the sort of the power of the platform is. And just lots of exciting things coming out and new features that we're excited to launch throughout the year.
It is so slick. I've signed up. I've played around with it. I love what you guys are doing. I would definitely recommend to go in there and play with it to kind of see what's happening, because it is so impressive just how simple and accessible it is to just anybody to be able to do it. So yeah, I'm excited to be watching what you guys are doing. Just for everybody that's here today, thank you for being here. One of the things is we've had some links in there. If you're part of CPHR, you get a discount. But also, one of the things that we do is about having conversations around, you can sign up for the public offerings of training if you're interested in coach training or some of our live events to just see what's happening. There's also things that happen within organizations where we go in, it's just for within the organization. So if you're an HR leader that's looking to do more of those things, we're happy to talk to you about that as well. It's not just coming to a public program. We do things in organizations with a lot of our clients. And again, the 3 links of those stories are some of the stories that we've been involved in partnering with organizations. So Tracy, thanks so much for being here today, giving us some of your time. And I'll turn it back to Allie just as we close today. We hope you have a wonderful lunch, the rest of you who are leaving from here. And thanks so much for being here today.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Ed and Tracy. What a great way to spend our lunch hour together. Thank you for writing all that content. And thank you everyone for joining us today. Have a great afternoon and watch out for that follow-up email coming to your inboxes next week. Thanks so much.